Good morning, my lovely friends. This is Max Kahn, and I'm delivering your reading today. And today I've chosen the book, The Secret Door to Success. And that's by Florence Scovel Shinn. This was the author who also wrote the book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And today I read you chapter 8, The Watchman at the Gate. We must all have a watchman at the gate of our thoughts, and that watchman at the gate is our superconscious mind, because we have the power to choose our thoughts. Since we have lived in the race thought for thousands of years, it seems almost impossible to control them. They rush through our minds like stampeding cattle or sheep. However, a single sheepdog can control the frightened sheep and guide them safely into the sheep pen. I saw a picture in the newsreels of a sheepdog controlling sheep. He had rounded up all but 3 of them. Those 3 had resisted and resented. They baaed and they lifted their front feet in protest. But the sheepdog simply sat down in front of them and never took his eyes off them for 1 second. He did not bark or threaten. He just sat there and looked his determination. In a little while, the sheep tossed their heads and went into the pen. Now, we can learn to control our thoughts in the same way, by gentle determination, not force. We take an affirmation and we repeat it continually, while our thoughts are on the rampage. We cannot always control our thoughts, but we can control our words, and repetition impresses the subconscious, and we are then master of the situation. In the 6th chapter of Jeremiah we read, "I set watchmen over you, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet." Your success and happiness in life depend upon the watchman at the gate of your thoughts. For your thoughts, sooner or later, crystallize on the external. People think by running away from a negative situation they will get rid of it. But the same situation confronts them wherever they go. They will meet the same experiences they have learned until they have learned their lessons. And this idea is brought out in the moving picture, The Wizard of Oz. In The Wizard of Oz, the little girl Dorothy is very unhappy because the mean women in the village want to take her dog away from her little dog Toto. And Dorothy goes in despair to confide in her Aunt Em, and Uncle Henry. But they're far too busy to listen, and they tell her to run along. She says to Toto, there is somewhere a wonderful place high above the skies where everybody is happy and no one is mean. How she would love to be there. A Cancer cyclone suddenly comes along and she and Toto are lifted up high into the sky and land in the country of Oz. And everything seems very delightful at first. But soon, very soon, she has the same old experiences. The mean old woman of the village has turned into a terrible witch and is still trying to get Toto from her. Oh, how Dorothy wishes she was back in Kansas. She is told to find the Wizard of Oz. He is all-powerful and will grant her request. So she starts off to find his palace in the Emerald City. And on the way there, she meets a scarecrow. And this scarecrow is so unhappy because he doesn't have a brain. Then she meets a man made wholly of tin who's also so unhappy because he hasn't a heart. And she meets a lion who is very unhappy because this lion has no courage. So she cheers them all up by saying, we'll all go to the Wizard of Oz and he will give us what we want. The scarecrow will have a brain, the tin man a heart, and the lion courage. They encounter terrible experiences, for the bad witch is determined to capture Dorothy and take away Toto and the ruby slippers which protect her. At last they reach the Emerald Palace of the Wizard of Oz, and they ask for an audience, but are told that no one has ever seen the Wizard of Oz, who lives mysteriously somewhere in the palace. But through the influence of the Good Witch of the North, they enter the palace, and they soon discover that the wizard is just a fake magician from Dorothy's hometown in Kansas. They're all in despair because their wishes cannot be granted. But then the Good Witch shows them that their wishes are already granted. The Scarecrow has developed a brain by having to decide what to do in the experiences he has encountered. The Tin Man finds that he has indeed a heart because he loves Dorothy. And the Lion has become courageous because he has had to show his courage in the many adventures they encountered. And the Good Witch from the North says to Dorothy, "Dorothy, what have you learned from your experiences?" And Dorothy replies, "I have learned that my heart's desire is in my home and in my own front yard." So the Good Witch waves her hand, and once again Dorothy is at home with all her family. She wakes up and she finds that the Scarecrow, the Tin Man and the Lion are all the men who worked on her uncle's farm. They're so glad to have her back. And my lovely friends, this story really teaches us that if you run away from your problems will run after you. Be undisturbed by a situation and it will fall away of its own weight. There is an occult law of indifference which says that none of these things shall move me, none of these things shall disturb me. When you can no longer be disturbed, all disturbance will disappear from your external. My lovely friends, when you have eyes, and when your eyes see your teacher will disappear. And may God add his blessing to that. Have a beautiful day, my lovely friends. God bless you.